Hi, I'm Elspeth Wishart. I'm the Senior Curator of Cultural Heritage at the Tasmania Museum and Art Gallery. And I'd like to talk to you about this fascinating object, a large banner, which has been a mystery to us. And I think that's really what excites me about it. It was brought into the museum 30 years ago from a government department, the Lands Department, and we didn't really know much about it except that it had been connected with a royal visit in the 1800s. So we wrapped it up, catalogued it and put it away. And then we did this exhibition, The Changing Landscapes Creating Tasmania. And we were looking for objects that was helping Tasmanians to find their identity in the 1800s. So I remembered that we had this object. So we got it out, and because we didn't have much information about it, we took a couple of avenues. We started doing research on it, and then we also looked at it physically to see what clues it could give us. And that was really where we started to get excited, because we thought it was a large painting that was perhaps framed and hung in some important place. But when you look at the close details, it's very naive, it's got very light paint on it, and it's got paint on both sides. But then we looked at the edges and we found that it had been put on a stretcher, but it had never been framed. So we started to think, what was this object? It was maybe a prop for a play, or some sort of just temporary ephemeral thing. It doesn't have an artist's signature or anything on it. And then it was suggested by one of our curators that maybe it was a transparency. Now in the 1800s, transparencies were used for festivals. They were usually lit from behind, which would make sense with the light paint. And they were used for special occasions. So we started to read up about this and looking at the royal visits, and we found that in 1868 the first ever royal visit came to Australia, and that was of Prince Alfred, who was the Duke of Edinburgh. He was the second son of Queen Victoria, and we were able to identify that this is actually an image of Prince Alfred, and the details show him surrounded with the Union Jacks and ash trees and acorns and oak trees, and he's leaning on a maritime object, and he's got anchors, and then of course there's this ribbon saying "Welcome to Tasmania." So it all sort of began to fall into place, and then we found a newspaper account of his visits around the world, and everywhere he went there were massive illuminations where people had light displays and transparencies such as this in their windows, you know, from small little paned windows to large windows. And when we were reading the account in the Mercury in January in 1868, there was a description of this exact transparency being displayed in the Lands Department, which is where this came from, or the Survey Department, which is still in Davey Street, the old St Mary's Hospital. And it was painted by one of the draftsmen from the Survey Department, Stan Dunnett. So all that information was already there, and we were able to piece it together. So suddenly, this sort of rather faded, worn banner became a really significant piece of Tasmania's history. And to this date, we think it's the only one in the world remaining from the whole of the Prince's global tour to many, many countries. So we're very excited to have this and would like to put it out there. If anyone knows of any other ones, we'd be really interested to hear about it.